On Valentine's night, I ran into my fiance's lover outside a bar. She had been drugged and was unconscious. This time I pretended not to see her and walked away. In my previous life, I didn't know her. When I kindly rescued her, I accidentally glimpsed my fiance's name tattooed on her collarbone. I thought it was a misunderstanding. But the next moment when I answered her phone, I heard my fiance's voice on the other end, overwhelmed with jealousy and rage. I hung up and ignored the 99 calls from my fiance, only leaving after I had safely arranged for her to stay at my family's hotel. But that night, his lover was assaulted by criminals and overcome with shame to her own life. After learning the truth, my fiancé acted as if nothing had happened and still held a grand wedding ceremony for me. However, on the day I discovered I was pregnant, he broke both my legs and imprisoned me at home. I completely broke down and asked him through my tears why he would do this. He laughed, maniacally. If it weren't for you, Lacey wouldn't have been assaulted and she wouldn't have committed suicide. It's all your fault. To my surprise, when I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day I met his lover outside the bar. Please help me call my boyfriend. Lacey Lee collapsed outside the bar. Her face flushed, her consciousness already fading, though it was just an ordinary request. Cold sweat broke out on my back as I realized I had been reborn this time. I pretended not to see her plea for help and quickened my pace away from the bar entrance in my previous life. It was my compassion that led me to such a tragic fate. This time, I wouldn't get involved no matter what, but before I could get far, Lacey struggled her feet and tried to stop me again in my carelessness. I was pushed to the ground by her. I cried out in pain, not noticing that the woman's phone had started ringing, followed by my fiancé Jake Gordon's voice. Lacey, why did it take you so long to answer? Don't you know how worried I was? Lacey whined in a sweet, cloying voice. I'm feeling so terrible. Jake darling. Someone drugged me. Jake, come save me quickly. The man's voice suddenly rose. Hang on Lacey, I'm coming right now. Hearing Jake's voice, I couldn't help but shudder. The pain of having my legs broken by him in my previous life, still fresh in my memory. Back then, I never imagined I would die at the hands of my fiancé, the man I was about to marry. In less than 10 minutes, Jake arrived at the bar entrance. He anxiously took the woman into his arms and was about to leave. When he finally noticed me still lying on the ground, Ruby, he was surprised to see me, followed by a flash of discomfort across his face. What are you doing here? I had twisted my leg, but I stood up, fighting through the intense pain, avoiding his probing gaze. I acted as if I hadn't heard him, and walked toward the roadside, hailed a taxi, and went home. Soon after, Jake brought Lacey home too. The woman wrapped herself around him like an octopus, mumbling incoherent words. Seeing me, his expression turned awkward, and he quickly explained Lacey isn't feeling well. I thought it wouldn't be safe to leave her alone at home, so I brought her back. You don't mind? I don't mind. I cut him off quickly, closing the door. Noticing Jake's complex gaze following me that night, the sounds of their lovemaking faintly reached my ears through the guest room door. I covered my ears, wiping away tears that had fallen without my notice. Not from jealousy, but from the fear of having survived a catastrophe. By dawn, the noises had quieted down and I completely breathed a sigh of relief. In my previous life, I had been blinded by love, which was why I rejected all 99 calls Jake made to Lacey outside the bar and left her alone at the hotel. I hadn't anticipated that Lacey would be assaulted by criminals that night and choose to end her life. Jake married me without saying a word, holding the enviable wedding as promised, but on the day I found out I was pregnant, he broke my legs and imprisoned me at home. When I asked him why I threw my pain-induced haze, I only received his merciless curses. He hated me, blamed me entirely for Lacey's death, and had planned everything just to avenge her. This time, I wouldn't interfere with them again. Of course, I would also extract myself from this relationship. The next day at noon, the two of them finally emerged from the bedroom. Lacey's exposed shoulders were covered in kiss marks. Upon seeing me, she lowered her head in faint shyness. Ruby, you weren't upset last night, were you, Jake? Only had to. Well, to save me. If you want to blame someone, blame me. I was useless getting drugged like that. Please don't take it to heart. I'd feel terrible if I caused problems with your wedding because of me. As she spoke, tears welled up in her eyes, making her look utterly pitiful. Hearing the commotion, Jake frowned and immediately confronted me. I asked you last night, too, Ruby. You said you didn't mind. Why are you making Lacey cry now? I was completely baffled. She's been rambling on her own and started crying by herself. What does that have to do with me? At this, Jake's frown deepened. Then why would Lacey cry for no reason? I've already agreed to marry you. What more do you want? Even though I'd already compromised, why wouldn't these two leave me alone with this thought? I looked him straight in the eyes. If it's such a burden for you, let's cancel the engagement. Jake froze in place. Cancel the engagement. Malice flashed in his eyes. Ruby, you're such a drama. Queen Lacey was drugged. If I hadn't saved her last night, she would have been in danger, and here you are wanting to cancel our engagement over something so trivial. Do you think marriage is some small matter? I never thought that way, but he had already torn off his hypocritical mask. I didn't want to say much more and replied firmly. I've suddenly realized something, Jake. We're not right for each other. Not right for each other. His gaze darkened before quickly turning to anger. Ruby, don't get it twisted. You are the one who said you liked me first. In the beginning, I was indeed the one who fell for him first after graduating from university abroad where my parents had sent me to study. I returned home at my welcome back dinner. I fell for Jake at first sight. I did everything I could to learn about him. Got his contact information and gathered the courage to confess my feelings. Surprisingly, he neither agreed nor refused, only saying we could give it a try. I thought that even a glimmer of hope was enough. So he started meeting regularly, chatting, watching movies and shopping together. Gradually, his gaze toward me softened, and he would instinctively protect me when crossing the street. Back then I thought that was love, and I eagerly brought up our engagement to my father. But after we got engaged, Jake stopped spending time with me like before, and Lacey was suddenly always by his side. I was too one-sided in my feelings, which led me into this hopeless situation. Thinking about this, I took several deep breaths and said, resignedly, yes, I liked you first, but now I don't love you anymore. Understand, Ruby. His anger erupted as he dragged me into the bedroom, radiating fury. What are you so angry about? I've already explained about Lacey. We grew up together. Did you expect me to ignore her when she was in trouble? Please don't use your filthy thoughts to judge our relationship. Hearing the word filthy, I couldn't help but laugh. I'm filthy, Jake. Yesterday was Valentine's Day. When I asked you on a date, you said you had to work late, but one call from Lacey and you rushed to her. Who are you trying to fool? She even has your name tattooed on her shoulder. How can you say there's nothing between you? These words had been suppressed in my heart for too long. Finally, saying them out loud still felt painful. He couldn't respond. For a long time before turning and leaving, I couldn't be bothered to pursue it further. I took a taxi home and told my mother about canceling the engagement. Mom was shocked at first, but after hearing the whole story, she cursed angrily. I really misjudged him. Fine. We'll pretend the wedding is still on and let all our relatives and friends see him humiliated. By the time I got home, it was already evening. As soon as I entered the messy shoe rack and closet almost made me think burglars had broken in. After checking, I discovered that several limited edition dresses and high heels Jake had given me were all missing. Just then the door opened. Jake and Lacey walked in hand. She was wearing my clothes and shoes, the very ones from my closet when they saw me. The two immediately let go of each other's hands. Lacey explained in a sweet voice. Ruby, please don't misunderstand. I didn't mean to wear your clothes yesterday. My clothes were all torn. So Jake told me to take something from your closet. Jake had always given me gifts on every important anniversary. He knew I disliked matching outfits with others, so the clothes and bags he bought me were all limited editions. But now those items he once claimed were exclusively mine were being worn by another woman. Seeing that I didn't respond, Jake looked quite displeased. It's just a piece of clothing. Why are you looking at me like that? You have so many clothes anyway. What's wrong with letting Lacey wear a few? I kept my face expressionless, nodded, and said, I understand. Jake was still unsatisfied, his brows furrowing. What are you thinking, Ruby? Why are you pretending not to care? Do you think this will get my attention? I looked up, meeting his eyes directly. Have you considered that? I genuinely don't care. Jake grew even angrier. He glared at me, then took Lacey's hand and went into the bedroom. I knew he was angry, but I didn't want to deal with it. After all, I was about to leave this place. Jake stayed angry for a long time. He hadn't spoken to me for days, expecting me to seek reconciliation like I used to. Unfortunately, for him, I was too busy preparing for my departure abroad to pay him any attention. A year after graduation, my overseas professor had suggested I join the research group for further studies. But back then I was so infatuated with Jake that I refused without a second thought. Looking back now, I was truly a complete fool. Lacey appeared at my home from time to time, treating it like a hotel, even brazenly using my belongings as if she were the lady of the house. I pretended not to notice any of it, focusing entirely on my own affairs. I just couldn't understand why Jake still refused to cancel our engagement, especially when I was no longer interfering with their relationship. I didn't believe he truly loved only me as he claimed. So I followed my mother's advice, pretending the wedding was still on, keeping everything as it was. When Jake learned about this, he was quite pleased and even approached me on his own. I told you, Ruby, you'll never be able to leave me in this lifetime, so stop lying to yourself about canceling the engagement. By the way, Lacey wants to experience what a wedding feels like, so she wants to be your bridesmaid. You don't mind, right? He added casually. not even bothering to look at me. In my previous life, I had taken my wedding very seriously, and my bridesmaids were naturally my close friends of many years, not Lacey, but this time the wedding was just an illusion. Thinking of this, I nodded, completely indifferent. Sure, that's fine. Hearing this, he stared at me in surprise for a long while, then finally said, menacingly, I'm mourning you. Don't bully Lacey or try any tricks. I certainly had no such intentions. A few days later, the wedding company asked me to try on wedding dresses, and I didn't refuse. Lacey came along too. Wow, Ruby, this wedding dress is so beautiful. Can I try it on in the store? Lacey couldn't stop admiring the diamond-encrusted mermaid wedding dress displayed in the center. It was indeed beautiful. Even I was stunned when I first saw it. Jake had specially invited a master designer from abroad to create it for me, and spent a fortune to have 99 South African diamonds sewn onto it, making it extraordinarily luxurious. Jake said, only I deserved such a wedding dress in my previous life. I had been immersed in this happiness, ultimately walking toward death, but now I didn't even frown as I nodded in agreement. Sure, it'll fulfill your dream of being a bride. Seeing my calm reaction, Jake frowned deeply and questioned me, Ruby. This was designed specifically for you, a wedding dress that belongs only to you in this world. How can you just let someone else wear it? I raised an eyebrow and said, it's just a fitting. Does wearing my wedding dress mean Lacey will replace me and marry you? Both of their faces changed at my words. Jake's expression turned particularly fierce as he slammed his fist on the table. Ruby, what nonsense are you talking about? I shrugged and smiled. I'm just saying it's just a wedding dress. If Lacey wants to wear it, let her. After all you said, you and Lacey have known each other since childhood. I should be more tolerant and generous. His brow furrowed even more as his eyes fixed on me, his thoughts unreadable. Finally, he said, disdainfully, fine. Whatever you want. In the end, Lacey got her wish to wear the wedding dress and even pulled Jake in for photos, asking the photographer to capture the moment. However, Jake's gaze occasionally fell on me, making him seem distracted. I knew what he was thinking, wondering why I wasn't clinging to him like before, why I didn't care anymore. But having been reborn, this time I only wanted to survive soon. The wedding day arrived. Jake went to the venue alone amid the cheers of the guests. Jake felt inexplicably nervous. He adjusted his bow tie and looked at the door ahead. The host announced that his bride was waiting behind that door, but when the door opened, the bride who should have been waiting for him was nowhere to be found.